I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country here on Fish Creek Radio. Our guest today recently celebrated his 36th anniversary with his breakthrough hit, Rose-Colored Glasses. And he can be found on the road throughout 2015 as well as on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, where he has been a member since 1982. He has had over 32 singles on the Billboard Hot Country Songs charts. He's had over a dozen studio albums, 7 #1 songs, and he is a member of the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame. Please welcome John Conlee to My Kind of Country. John, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great talking to you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I was very fortunate to get to see you in concert here about a year and a half ago on my wife and I's anniversary. We had a great time.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
And I even got my picture with you with my rose-colored glasses on. So.
Yeah, we've moved through a number of those of rose-colored glasses over all these years, happily so.
Well, I can just imagine. You know, I was interested to find that didn't actually hit the #1 spot for you, but it certainly has obviously been your signature song.
Oh, signature song, the most popular thing I've ever done. And there were technical reasons why it didn't go number one. It was #1 at almost every station that played it and in each region. But in order to have a national #1 record, where it's the top of Billboard or whatever chart you're looking at, you got to have everybody playing it at the same time. And Rose bicycled its way around the country, but it stayed on the charts for a very long time as a result of that. But for that reason, 7 is as high as it got in Billboard, I believe it was. But I've always said that if every song could be that popular, I'd take 7 every time. And you could have all your #1 records.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
That's for sure. Well, you certainly had your share of #1s as well. You had Lady Lay Down, Backside of 30, one of my very favorites, Common Man. I'm Only in It for the Love, In My Eyes, As Long as I'm Rocking with You, Got My Heart Set on You. You basically had the country music soundtrack for the 70s and 80s, man. I'll tell you what, everybody that I know listened to your music all the time and still does.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are blessed in that regard. People still, comment that those songs, some of them, most of them actually 25, 30 years old, still sound fresh today, and that's wonderful. It's a blessing.
Well, I think so too. How do you are you seeing a lot of the younger generations starting to discover not only your music but the more of the traditional country stuff?
True enough. I mean, there are at every show we do, every live show, there are a number of folks who are in their 20s or early 30s, or even younger in some cases. There was a young girl, 15 years old, who was just beside herself at a show this past weekend, for instance. And you can't. That is very flattering and wonderful, but it's because the songs have something to say. That's what I credit it to. We've put together a body of work with songs that have, as I like to put it, meat on their bones, a story to tell. And it's not just fluff and falderall, and I think that's the reason for it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Certainly, most of the traditional country through the years has, it means something to the common man, and it's got, like you said, it's got a story to tell, and
right.
And so much of the stuff you hear nowadays just does not, and it's not my cup of tea.
We've had enough songs about pickup trucks, thanks. I mean, I love them. I drive one all the time, but
don't need to hear a song about it every day.
Let's change the subject for a minute, if we could.
Oh yeah, I hear you. Well, I was very pleased to note when I was at your concert that I noticed a really good mix of young and old, and everybody there was clapping along and singing along with all your songs, and of course when you did Rose-Colored Glasses, everybody pulled their sunglasses out.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool thing. Tell me a little about Farm Aid. My goodness, you've been on almost every Farm Aid that has been on, and tell me a little bit about Farm Aid and that cause and how that's
Well, we were on at least the first half of the Farm Aid concerts themselves. I haven't done the concert for a number of years, but I still talk about the issue, and I appreciate so much the fact that Willie Nelson and crew have kept the whole thing going and keep talking about it, because we have still slowly lost that old family farm system, a bunch of small farms producing the food we all eat. We've transferred into a system where all of our meat basically is produced for the most part in big confinement operations and all of that. Cattle is still, you can still find cattle roaming around in smaller places, thankfully, but I haven't seen a hog running around anywhere in the country for years and years and years. They're all confinement. All the poultry is big confinement operations. And I still think it's dangerous, and long term we'll regret it at some point in time.
I agree with you there, that's for sure. I forgot I wanted to ask you about one of my favorite songs of yours, and it's a very unusual song, and when folks hear it, you have to listen to it a couple times to really catch the true meaning of it, but I Don't Remember Loving You. How did that song come along for you?
Well, the writers, Bobby Braddock and Harlan Howard, wrote the song. And, of course, Harlan's no longer with us. Bobby still is, but both of those guys, two of the greatest songwriters that have ever run through Nashville, but a little bit left to center, both of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're just a little bit bonkers. And I guess that's what it took to write that song. They pitched it to us, and we jumped on it. When it first came out, we got just not too much, but a little bit of blowback and pushback from a couple of feminist types and so forth. But that didn't last long. I mean, it really, I don't think is negative in that regard. And but I've always wondered why it became one of our most requested songs. I finally realized that it's not that many people have been in that situation, but we've all felt real close at one time or another.
Amen to that. Well, it's catchy too. It's
it's a cute song, and I mean, it's not trying to make any kind of big political statement or anything else, but it's about life. It's about real life.
That's for sure. My favorite line is if you hand me my crayons, I'll be glad to take your name.
My kids were small when that song was out, and people used to bring crayons, little packs of Crayola, to me at the shows and hand them up to me.
Is that right?
I had to buy crayons for my kids. In fact, we've still got boxes of them around the house here from those years back.
Gee, we should have hooked you up with a sponsorship with Crayola or something.
Oh, I know, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, when I saw you at the show, it was such a great show, and the biggest thing that I noticed was that you sound like your records. And
well, that's just another of the many blessings. It's not my fault. People about that all the time, and they want to know how I do it or how I maintain my voice, and God has done it because I haven't had anything to do. In fact, it has maintained in spite of me, in a lot of cases. But I can say that it's easier to sing now than ever before, and it's more fun to sing than ever before for me. And I'm just thankful that it does still hold up, and sound like the record. I mean, our goal has always been to do live what we produced on record. I was always disappointed to go to a concert by somebody and hear them change the songs all around to suit themselves. And the reason, I understand why they do it, they get bored with doing it the same way over and over and over and over. But the people who come to see you expect to hear what they're used to hearing on the record. And so, we try to reproduce that as faithfully as we can.
Well, you certainly do a good job of it. And songs, they evolve over the years on stage and things like that. But if you can keep them close to where you get little nuances in there that might change, but
oh, sure. Oh, yeah. There are small things, but I've heard people change the whole arrangement.
Yeah.
And I think you do that around your house, for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're doing it for.
Exactly. Well, you have a brand new album that is coming out. We are doing our interview the day before it's going to come out, and that's when we're going to have it on the air. So you have a brand new album coming out called Classics No. 2.
Classics 2. It is a combination of some of the later hits we had, like Domestic Life and Harmony and Mama's Rockin' Chair. And then the other part of it, over half of it, is new music and new material.
Well, great. Are the songs that have been out before, are those new recordings or are those the originals?
No, they're new recordings.
Oh, good.
We re-recorded them However, again, we tried to come as close to the original record as possible. Here's a comment we're getting at the tables now at the autograph line after shows. A lot of people are saying they're wanting me to re-record a lot of these things because my voice is a little more mellow now and a little deeper than it was when we originally did the songs 30-some years ago. It's just a thing of age, you know. And so some people like I guess, the little deeper voice that I now have than compared to that voice that I had in my 30s. And so we're doing that. And we may end up doing all of them again at some point in time because of it.
That's great. You know, I was talking to Gene Watson about this a little while back. He was on the show, and he just put out an album of 25 of his greatest hits and re-recorded them and everything. And, you know, he was talking about, you know, record labels and royalties and things like that and not being able to get those originals put out again. Do you have the masters, and do you own the rights for your older music, or is that something that you don't have?
Well, I have most of them. I don't have, there are maybe 6 or 7 of the singles I don't have of the first things we did, but I have the rest of them.
Oh, well, that's good.
And so I can, you know, I can put out all of the originals, or I can or I can record them. So, you know, we're kind of mixing and matching and doing all of it.
Well, that's a good thing, and that's advice to a lot of the new artists to, you know, try to hang on to your songs. Don't let them go.
Well, it's more possible now than it used to be, and when I got the rights to some of mine, that was sort of unprecedented back in 30-some years ago. Ray Charles did it with his. He negotiated a deal where he could own all of his stuff, years and years ago. But that was very, very rare. It is more doable now than ever before, and that's great for the artists, I think.
I know Buck Owens did that too, and I think he's one of the only country artists that was ever able to accomplish that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, your voice is great, and I was just amazed how great you sounded, and still sounded, you know, just as great as ever. And I think you are singing better, and I think you're right with age. A lot of artists that I hear, as they perform over the years, their voice gets actually stronger.
Exactly. Yeah, that does happen, and it seems to be true for me. And and again, it's just another blessing, because it's certainly not because I've drinking any kind of special juice or doing any exercises or any of that stuff. It just has happened that way, and
sure.
I'm thankful.
Well, amen to that. Well, tell me about your new single from the album, Walk Behind the Star.
Walking Behind the Star is a song that is in honor of our men and women who serve us in law enforcement. And the song was written 16 years ago. But the people that wrote it, Ronnie Scaife and Phil Thomas, and I'm sure when they wrote it, they pitched it around town quite a bit. Nobody was interested. Nobody recorded it. And I believe that maybe they were simply planting a seed when they wrote it then for today, because as we all know, so many in our law enforcement community are under attack. They're getting shot at or shot and killed, senselessly and uselessly. And so because of that, they thought of the song, they pitched it to us, and so about 5-6 weeks ago, we ran to the studio with it and cut it and got it out here. And I'm just really proud to have it out there. I mean, all of us in the country, if we stop and think, I mean, beyond, a lot of times you think of a policeman, the first thing you think of is getting stopped for speeding or some other traffic thing, Well, I'm sorry, but probably most of the time, they're right, we're wrong. We were actually doing it. And but if we stop and think, these folks put themselves on the line for us selflessly, and they don't hesitate to walk into danger to try to stop the bad guys and to help in other ways along the way. And so that's what this song tries to point out and give them honor for.
Well, it's a powerful song, and I am real glad that you put it out. It's definitely a message that needs to be gotten out there to everybody.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, you can pick up this new album at johnconlee.com. And you can also check out John Conlee on Facebook. And, of course, this album will be available at iTunes and Amazon.com.
Right.
And is this? Do you have this coming out into record stores and that sort of thing, too?
Yes, it'll be in stores, toward the end of April, but available at iTunes and Amazon the 1st of April, April 7th, I think is the target date for that release there. Mm-hmm. And of course, we'll have it available at johnconlee.com. We'll be taking pre-orders for it, maybe even doing it now. I haven't looked lately, but it'll be available there even before it hits the stores. Great.
Well, johnconlee.com also has many of your other classic albums. With all your hits on them, the classics, the first classics one has rose-colored glasses and so many great songs on it, and
the classics, all of those songs are the original tracks the way they first came out.
Yes.
When they were released beginning in 1978.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, John Conlee, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we're very happy to have a new album out from you, and we're going to play it here on My Kind of Country. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all the wonderful music and memories.
My pleasure, and we're going to keep on doing it as long as we can.
All right. Well, check out John Conlee and go see him. I'll tell you what, if you have a chance to go see him in concert, you will not be disappointed. It's a wonderful, real country music show, and John is very nice to come out and sign autographs for all of his fans after the show, and you'll come away from there with a real positive feeling, for sure.
Thank you for the kind words.
All right. That is John Conlee on My Kind of Country right here on Fish Creek Radio. Thank you again, John.
Okay. My pleasure. Thank you.